All right, I'd like to bring to order the Bristol, Virginia City Council for May the 15th, 2018. So let's take a moment of silence, please. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we got two big items to do tonight. The first thing at 6 o'clock, we're going to start in with the public hearing on the BVU sunset item. So I don't really have any specific comments on that, just to say that the transaction from BVU to sell the OptiNet division of to Sunset Communications is proceeding. There's been a lot of traction in the last, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks that we haven't seen in a while. So it looks like with the new financing management firm behind Sunset, it's moving a lot quicker toward closing. So now they are in the mode of having to wrap up several legal contractual items in order to go to closing and make the deal transactionally closed. So what we're going to do tonight is one item that has to be done as part of that transactional closing process. So the BVU attorney is intimate with what we're doing tonight. He's reviewed all the contracts, made the recommendation to our city attorney on how the language needs to read for this, to make sure this is one of the last boxes that needs to be checked so that we don't have any other voting items that we need to do so that they can close the transaction. So that's all I really got to say. Randy, do you have anything as far as city manager comments?
No, in regards to this transaction with Sunset and BVU, part of the city ordinance, there is a franchise agreement that allows BVU OptiNet to serve citizens of the city of Bristol with cable service. So this franchise agreement needs to be transferred over to Sunset Digital to allow them to operate. However, this will not go into effect until the closing of that acquisition occurs, even though we will have a second reading on this on May 22nd. So the language of the ordinance prevents this from transferring up until the closing of the transaction with Sunset and BVU.
All right, so with that said, unless there's other council comments.
I just want to thank BVU, the board. I'm so thankful that our legislature decided to change the board and give it fair and equitable representation from Washington County, Scott County, and the city of Bristol. And that includes you, Mr. Mayor, who serves on that board. BVU is fortunate, and I'm actually trying to kill a little bit of time because we're going to get this done pretty soon. We're going to come back at 6:30. I offered the mayor to let me sing, but he said no. I'd run everybody off, and he wants y'all to stick around. So, but the long and short of it is, BVU is being led right now by a giant. Our CEO of BVU is a giant, intellectually, morally, from a business perspective. Not that we're not being led that way either, Mr. City Manager. Don't want to infer anything different, okay, please. But the citizens of Bristol, Virginia, Washington County, all the investors that had a stake in this, kudos to our board that we have at BVU, and many kudos to our leadership. And thank them, each one of them, including you, Mr. Mayor, for everything you did to push this forward. And God willing, a curse on BVU to my personal experience has been lifted and will be lifted, and very thankful for that. And that's well, I've still got 25 minutes, Mr.
Let me say a couple things. We need a little humor in our work here at the city. So when I decided to do the write-in vote and I got elected, right? the last thing from my mind was I was going to be on the BVU board. So when we had the first meeting and somebody said, well, the new law doesn't allow him to be on it.
Thank God.
And doesn't allow him to be on it, and he's going to be the mayor, so guess what? Tag, you're it. And I went, I was like, really, you've got to be kidding me, right? Just like that. And so I said, oh my goodness. So I guess my objective is to go up there and do the best I can just to stay out of jail. That was my first thought, right? I just want to stay out of jail. Because my wife definitely doesn't want to come see me in jail. She hardly wants to see me at home, so.
That's why we wrote that
But-
law, Mr. Mayor, so I wouldn't be on there, Mr. Hubbard wouldn't be on there. We wanted it out there as fast as we could. But
But honestly, sitting on the board now, it's actually been a blessing. Don
Yes.
Bowman is doing a great job.
Absolutely.
So the community really does owe a lot to Don. He's a hometown kid. He went to John Battle, engineer trained, PE, professional engineering certification. Really smart guy. Honest as a day is long.
Yes.
So he is he's really turned the organization around. I mean, the employee base, the morale, the financials, everything is moving in a very positive direction at BVU. So we just got a couple things we got to do to take the next step, and hopefully the transaction of the OptiNet will be the first one to get that monkey off of BVU's back, because that's another example of, you know, you shouldn't let a public entity getting into the private domain, right? So thinking you're going to get in the telecommunication business and be successful against these private companies is not going to be very well in your favor. So anyway, with that said, I'll open the public hearing. We will consider a public hearing regarding the first reading of an ordinance to transfer the franchise agreement from BVU to Sunset Fiber LLC. So I hereby open that public hearing. Next item, staff comment.
Council, as I previously stated, this is an ordinance to transfer the franchise agreement that's currently in place with BVU OptiNet and transfer that over to Sunset Digital Communications once the acquisition of BVU OptiNet occurs by Sunset.
Okay, do you want to read this email that was up here?
Well,
from-
that will come in the
Okay,
item
all right.
2.
All right, is anyone signed up for public comment? Okay. All right, so I hereby close the public hearing. Now, item 2, consider the first reading of an ordinance to transfer the franchise agreement from BVU to Sunset Fiber LLC. So I need a council motion and a second for the first reading of the ordinance to transfer that franchise agreement.
Mr. Mayor. Okay, well, we have to read it specifically. Is that correct, Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I move that to adopt the ordinance, therefore be it ordained that section 2, close parentheses, little b, stating the term of the franchise agreement granted in the city of Bristol, Virginia, shall be renewed for a term of 10 years from June 26, 2018 to June 26, 2028. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor? Mr. City Manager?
And
This is replacing the section 2B? Or is there
It's the same as
section
2B.
2B? Is this an add?
this
to
is
the
an
thing?
add-in.
add to the current ordinance as presented.
Okay. With that being said,
Right.
add it on. Got it? Everybody get that?
Motion to add it.
Motion to add to that.
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion to add the way the legal language here reads from Penn Stewart. We got a second by Mr. Hubbard. Council comments?
I've got a couple of questions, and actually this answers my first question, because in looking at this, it seemed that the agreement had expired, and I was curious about that, what the term was, but,
There's a separate agreement that is, if I can pull up the first agreement. Right, but there's a second agreement after that initial agreement that would have put it expiring in 2018.
well, that's fine. I just, when I read through the information, I didn't see that it automatically renewed either, so. I guess my other question is, in looking at, I just want to make sure, in looking at section 5.2, it says that the franchising authority has the right to approve or disapprove rates that may be charged by BVU BVU board as such rates may be proposed. So does that mean that Sunset, if they decide to change their rates, will have to come and ask council approval?
If they're abiding by the franchise agreement, I think that's the way it would have to be done.
Okay.
So I would say this council should expect that because the way the cable business is going, they're raising rates continuously every opportunity. So you should expect to see that quite often. If you don't see it, it should be a red flag.
I think they'll make plenty of money moving their territory, expanding their territory. That's just my guess.
Yeah, they've got plenty of room to expand.
That's right. They really do.
All right, any other council comment?
And I'll answer Mr. Hartley's, under the footnote of the franchise agreement, it was ordinance number 03.05 as adopted by the council on May 23rd, 2003, which superseded the franchise agreement that was on June the 11th of 2002.
Okay. That's, like I say, when I was reading through, I didn't see the footnote. I just,
Okay, any other comment? Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Fleener and a second by Mr. Harbord to adopt the first reading of the ordinance. So please call the roll.
Fleener.
Yes.
Hartley.
yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Wingard.
Yes.
Mumpower.
Yes. What do you like?
That's cool. It's okay. Harbor. You thinking of being Navy?
Oh,
It's okay, he's new on council.
Look,
It's been a long meeting.
Yeah, it is already.
all right, please read the first reading.
Ordinance to transfer a franchise agreement from Bristol, Virginia Utilities Board, now BVU Authority, to Sunset Digital Communications, DBA Sunset Fiber LLC upon the closing of the transaction. Whereas the City of Bristol granted a franchise agreement to Bristol, Virginia Utilities Board, now BVU Authority, on July 2002, and BVU Utilities Board entered into an asset purchase agreement with Sunset Digital Communications, doing business as Sunset Fiber LLC, on February 5th, 2016, as amended. Therefore, be it ordained that the franchise agreement granted in the City of Bristol, Virginia, Code Section 7.6 and Section 11, be transferred to Sunset Digital Communications, DBA Sunset Fiber LLC, upon the closing of the transaction, and the language that was previously stated in the motion will be added at the before the second reading.
Okay. So now we can adjourn, right?
You've got to, yeah, we can adjourn that.
The public hearing is hereby council meeting adjourned for May 15th, 2018.